Let's talk about inclusion and exclusion training and how it can really benefit your dog, especially when it comes to learning how to settle with and without you being around. We got a really great comment on one of our videos where one of our viewers was talking about how they do inclusion and exclusion training, which is basically when you allow your dog to have access to you and to not have access to you while you are in the house. If you are leaving, of course, your dog is not going to have direct access to you. They are going to have to learn how to manage themselves and be settled when you're not there. But when you are in the house, making sure you have times where they have access to you, when they're included in what you're doing, and making sure they're excluded. They can see you, they know you're around, but they are not allowed to be involved in those things is really good for teaching them how to settle. And you can do this with crate training, with place training, all of those different things. But your goal is to, while you're in your house, make sure there are structured times where your dog has free reign and has time to be with you and gets to be involved in different activities, but making sure that you also have very specific time where your dog can see you, knows you're in the house, knows things are going on, and is not allowed to participate. This is really helpful, especially around times when you're going to be eating. If you're sitting at your table, your dog might really benefit from that exclusion training, making sure they are away from the table, not allowed to cross a certain space, making sure that they are not begging, all of those things. Really good for mealtime. Also really good if you're in the kitchen trying to cook so they're not underfoot. If you are someone who is going to be bouncing up and down stairs a lot to maybe go do laundry or to go take care of things on a different floor of your house, making sure your dog has the ability to settle on your couch or in a specific place or in their crate is going to be beneficial to you. That way they can see you and they know things are going on, but they know that they have to stay put. And this can be something that you spend a little bit of time working on every single day. This can be something you work on with training with an actual trainer. You want to make sure you are looking into how to do inclusion and exclusion training that's really beneficial to allow your dog to settle while in your presence. And I know that as somebody who has one dog with extreme anxiety, she does not like to be separated from me. This can be a real challenge. This can be very, very hard to go through. It's very similar to keeping your toddler in a separate room and seeing their little finger sticking out of the door and listening to them cry because they do not have access to you. So I know with Lucy, it's very, very hard for her to be in her crate and able to see me, but not able to get to me. So we've been working on training for her to make sure she's more comfortable with me moving around the house. And right now she's doing really, really well during certain times. So I actually put my girls in their crates after mealtime because I do not want them roughhousing or playing for at least an hour after they eat because if you've been following along, you know that if dogs are doing too much right after they eat, they could flip their tummies and not survive it. It could be a whole thing. And so to have two young dogs like I do who love to play, I make sure we have crate time after our meals. And so they're very, very good about being in their crates for an hour, watching me walk around. I can go to a different floor of the house. I can do things. But if I am just popping them in there so that I can go do something quickly around the house or walk down to get the mail or something, that might be a little more stressful for Lucy, especially if I am going outside. She gets really worked up if I'm outside and she's inside. So if you have a dog who has anxiety, you might need to go a little bit slower. You might need to try some different things. If you've been following our anxiety journey with Lucy, you know it's taken a really long time for us to get through a lot of the different things. And we get to a point where she does really well. And then she's recently regressed a little bit. She's struggling a little bit more than she used to because she's gone back on what she had been trained with and what she had done. And so we're seeing different iterations and different evolutions of her ability to deal with her anxiety. And so you might need to do that a little bit differently than a dog who doesn't have separation anxiety. The way that I am training Gemma is different than the way that I am training Lucy, and the way that they react to the situations are drastically different. I cannot tell you how different Gemma's reactions are to Lucy's reactions. And so as you are going through this, I highly encourage you to find structured time to allow your dog to settle. And again, this can be settle in a specific location, like on your couch, on a placemat on the ground or a towel. It can be in their crates. It could be in a certain room. It is entirely up to you how you do this. I highly recommend that you are investigating training like this a little bit more, or maybe potentially working with a trainer on this one. But your goal is to, throughout the course of the day, have structured time where they're allowed to associate with you and they have to hold back from associating with you. And again, that might really benefit you for table time if you're sitting at the table trying to eat, if you're trying to cook, if you're trying to do laundry, but you also want to have structured time where you're not really doing anything. So just because you're around moving and things, doesn't mean that's the only time that you should be doing this. You should have maybe some time where you're sitting down to watch TV and having your dog in a separate space to make sure that they settle. Now, that does not mean all time has to be exclusion time. We want to make sure they're included as well. So if you are teaching them how to settle while you're watching Netflix, sometimes you want to include them, allow them to sit with you, allow them to engage with you, and other times put them into a settle so that they are able to function without constantly needing oversight on that. So the more that you work on it, the better it's going to get. If you have a dog with anxiety, it's going to take longer. I know it's really hard to get through. I am still working on it with Lucy, and it's probably going to be a long process for you and an ongoing process for you as you're helping your dog through that anxiety as well. But the more you do this, the easier it's going to become. You're going to want to start small, and you're going to want to build up that time increment from there and the distance from you as well. So the more that you put your time and effort into this, the better your dog is going to do. I know it's a lot of work up front to deal with all of this, but if you can do it now, the back end of this is going to be so much smoother and so much easier. I would much rather see you get that training done earlier in their life so that you can spend the rest of the life without a ton of stress and overwhelm. So working on that inclusion and exclusion training is going to be really beneficial to you. Make sure you are, figure out how it's going to work best for you in your life. And I want you to start thinking about some things where your dog might be getting underfoot. It might be a problem. And maybe you want to start bringing other people into this as well. So if it's just you and your family, maybe you want to have them, once they get kind of comfortable with it with you, bring in some other people. So if your parents are ever going to be babysitting for you, or your sister and her husband are going to be watching your dog for you at any point, bring them into these conversations as well, so your dog learns how to settle around them too. Drop your questions on this down below and follow along for daily videos helping you navigate the world of dog parenthood. We've got lots of great people here on the channel. I'm bringing in other experts to help you as well, but we have a full community here growing on the channel with great comments just like the one that sparked today's conversation. So if you've got tips and tricks, things you need to talk about, or fears and frustrations that we should help you with in our videos, now is the time to go ahead and drop those. We'll see you in the daily videos, again, helping you to navigate the world of dog parenthood to level up for your pups so you can give them the best life possible. We'll see you in the upcoming episodes.